In a small, peaceful town surrounded by lush green hills, there lived an 8-year-old girl named Emily. She was known for her bright smile and adventurous spirit. But what made Emily truly special was her bond with Max, a retired police dog who had become her best friend. Max wasn't just any ordinary dog. He was once part of the local K-9 unit, trained to track criminals and assist officers. However, after sustaining an injury during a mission, Max was forced into early retirement. He now spent his days lounging in the sun, playing fetch, and keeping Emily company. Emily's father, a former police officer, had adopted Max when the department decided they could no longer use him for active duty. At first, Max seemed sad and restless, missing the excitement of his old job. But everything changed when Emily entered his life. From the moment she met him, Emily treated Max like family. Every day, she would sit beside him, talk to him as if he were human, and even share her snacks. Slowly but surely, Max began to heal, not just physically but emotionally too. What started as a simple friendship soon turned into something extraordinary. Emily noticed that Max still had all the skills he'd learned during his time as a police dog. His sharp instincts, quick reflexes, and ability to follow commands hadn't faded one bit. Inspired by this, Emily decided to teach Max some new tricks. But instead of using traditional methods, she came up with something unique. A secret language made entirely of hand signals. For example, a gentle tap on her thigh meant "stay alert," while a flick of her wrist signaled "come here quietly." A double pat on her chest told Max to chase or pursue someone. These signals became their private code, a way for them to communicate without anyone else noticing. Emily practiced these signals with Max every day, turning their backyard into a training ground. Over time, Max mastered each signal perfectly, responding with lightning-fast precision. It was almost as if he could read Emily's mind. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Neighbors often saw Emily and Max walking together through the streets of their town, stopping occasionally to play fetch or explore the woods. People admired how well-behaved Max was and how devoted he seemed to Emily. No one could have guessed that beneath his calm exterior lay the heart of a hero waiting for its next adventure. But little did Emily know, their quiet life was about to change forever. One sunny afternoon, as she and Max headed to the park for their usual walk, fate had something unexpected in store. What happened next would not only test their bond, but also leave the entire town talking about the brave little girl and her incredible dog. Their secret signals, which had been nothing more than a fun game until now, were about to prove just how powerful their connection really was. On a bright and sunny afternoon, Emily grabbed Max's leash and headed to the park. The air was filled with the sounds of children laughing, birds chirping, and leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. It was one of those perfect days where everything felt calm and carefree. Emily loved coming to the park because it gave Max plenty of space to run around and play. Today, she brought along her favorite red ball, which Max adored chasing. As they walked through the park, Emily threw the ball for Max to fetch. Each time he sprinted after it, his ears flapping and tail wagging wildly. Emily couldn't help but giggle at how happy he looked. Other kids at the playground noticed Max too, pointing him out to their parents and saying things like, "Wow, look at that big dog," or "He's so fast." Emily beamed with pride. Max wasn't just her pet. He was her hero, and she loved showing him off. But as Emily bent down to pick up the ball after another toss, two men approached her. At first glance, they seemed friendly enough. One of them smiled and said, "Hey there, is this your dog? He looks familiar." Emily nodded shyly, clutching the ball tightly in her hands. The second man added, "Yeah, I think we've seen him before. Is your dad around? We might know him." Emily froze for a moment. Something about these men didn't feel right. Their smiles seemed forced, and their eyes darted around nervously. She remembered what her father had always told her. If someone makes you uncomfortable, trust your instincts. And right now, her instincts were screaming that something was wrong. Without making any sudden moves, Emily took a step back, pulling Max closer to her side. Subtly, she tapped her thigh with her free hand, a signal she and Max had practiced countless times. It meant stay alert. Max immediately understood. His playful demeanor vanished, replaced by the focused gaze of a trained protector. He stood tall beside Emily, his muscles tense and ready for action. The men didn't seem to notice the change in Max, or maybe they underestimated him because of his age. They exchanged glances and then tried to take another step toward Emily. "Come on, kid," one of them said, reaching out as if to grab her arm. "We just need to talk to your dad." That was when Max let out a deep, rumbling growl. It wasn't loud, but it carried a warning that sent chills down anyone's spine. The sound caught the attention of nearby families, who turned to see what was happening. The men hesitated, clearly startled by Max's reaction. Even though he was retired, Max still carried himself like the skilled police dog he once was. His body language screamed authority, and his piercing eyes locked onto the strangers, daring them to make another move. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. Emily's heart raced, but she stayed calm. She knew Max would never let anything happen to her. With another quick flick of her wrist, a signal for "protect me," she reinforced their unspoken agreement. Max responded instantly, stepping forward slightly and baring his teeth ever so slightly. The message was clear: come any closer, and you'll regret it. Realizing they were losing control of the situation, the men backed off, muttering something under their breath. But Emily wasn't fooled. She could tell they weren't giving up. They were just regrouping. And as they turned to leave, Emily felt a surge of determination. She may have been small, but she had Max by her side. Together, they were unstoppable. What happened next would not only surprise everyone in the park, but also set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. For now, though, Emily held her ground, gripping Max's leash tightly and trusting him completely. Whatever came next, she knew they'd face it together. The two men took a few steps back, their faces tense and eyes darting around nervously. They hadn't expected Max to react so strongly, and it was clear they were beginning to second-guess their plan. But instead of leaving entirely, they lingered nearby, pretending to chat casually while keeping a close eye on Emily and Max. Emily could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she didn't let her fear show. She knew that staying calm was the best way to keep herself, and Max, safe. Max stood firmly between Emily and the strangers, his body rigid and alert. His deep growl had quieted for now, but his posture made it clear he was ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. Every time one of the men shifted slightly or glanced in their direction, Max's ears perked up, and his tail stiffened. He wasn't going to let them get anywhere near Emily. Seeing that their initial approach had failed, the men decided to try a different tactic. One of them called out, "Hey, kid, we're not here to cause trouble. We just want to ask you a few questions about your dad." His voice sounded friendly, almost playful, but Emily wasn't fooled. She remembered what her father always said: never talk to strangers, especially if they mentioned family members. Instead of answering, Emily gave Max another subtle signal, a quick double pat on her chest. This was their code for chase or pursue, and Max understood immediately. In an instant, his demeanor changed from defensive to assertive. He barked loudly, startling everyone within earshot, including the two men. The sound echoed through the park, drawing the attention of other families who had been enjoying the sunny afternoon. The sudden noise threw the men off balance. They exchanged panicked glances, realizing they were losing control of the situation. People nearby began to watch them more closely, sensing something wasn't right. Knowing they couldn't stay much longer without attracting even more suspicion, the men turned and bolted, running toward the edge of the park. But Max wasn't about to let them escape so easily. With lightning speed, he sprinted after them, his powerful legs propelling him forward like a blur. Emily watched as her loyal companion disappeared around a corner, chasing the fleeing figures with precision and purpose. Though she trusted Max completely, she couldn't help but feel a pang of worry. What if something happened to him? What if the men tried to fight back? Determined to follow, Emily ran after Max, clutching his leash tightly in her hand. As she rounded the corner, she saw the two men scrambling to climb over a low fence at the far end of the park. Max was hot on their heels, barking fiercely and closing the distance with every stride. Just as one of the men managed to scramble over the fence, Max leaped forward, grabbing the other man's pant leg with his teeth. The force of Max's grip caused the man to stumble and fall to the ground, unable to break free. By now, several people from the park had gathered to see what all the commotion was about. Some pulled out their phones to call the police, while others shouted encouragement to Max. "Good boy," one woman yelled, clapping her hands. Another man added, "That dog is incredible." Emily finally caught up, gasping for breath as she reached Max's side. Her brave companion stood firm, pinning the fallen man to the ground while keeping a wary eye on the second man, who was still trying to flee. Realizing there was no way out, the second man raised his hands in surrender, shouting, "Okay, okay, we give up." Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air as police cars arrived at the scene. Officers quickly surrounded the area, handcuffing both men and reading them their rights. Emily watched in awe as the officers praised Max for his bravery, shaking their heads in disbelief at how effectively he had handled the situation. One officer even knelt down to pet Max, saying, "You've still got it, buddy." As the adrenaline began to wear off, Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. She hugged Max tightly, burying her face in his fur. "You did it, Max," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You saved us." What happened next would leave an even bigger impact, not just on Emily and Max, but on everyone who heard their story. Their bond had proven stronger than anyone could have imagined, and the world was about to find out just how extraordinary it truly was. The park was now buzzing with activity as police officers took control of the situation. The two men, visibly shaken and out of breath, were handcuffed and placed into separate patrol cars. Officers worked quickly, gathering statements from witnesses and securing the area. Emily stood nearby, still holding Max's leash, her small frame dwarfed by the commotion around her. Despite the chaos, she felt a deep sense of relief. Max had done it. He had protected her and stopped the men from escaping. As the officers finished processing the scene, one of them approached Emily and knelt down to her level. "You okay, sweetheart?" he asked gently, his voice warm and reassuring. Emily nodded, though her wide eyes betrayed how overwhelmed she felt. The officer smiled kindly, and then turned his attention to Max, who was sitting calmly beside her. "And you," he said, scratching Max behind the ears, "you're quite the hero today." Emily couldn't help but smile. She glanced up at the officer and said softly, "He's always been my hero." Her words carried a weight that surprised even her. To Emily, Max wasn't just a dog. He was family, a protector, and her closest friend. The officer nodded thoughtfully, clearly moved by her devotion. Curious about how Max had managed to apprehend the suspects so effectively, another officer asked Emily, "How did he know what to do? Did you train him yourself?" Emily hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should reveal their secret signals. But seeing the genuine admiration in the officer's eyes, she decided to share their special bond. With a shy smile, Emily explained, "We have our own way of talking. I use hand signals to tell him what to do, and he listens perfectly." To demonstrate, she gave Max a quick tap on her thigh, the signal for "stay alert." Instantly, Max perked up, his ears standing tall as he scanned the area. The officers watched in amazement, murmuring among themselves about the incredible connection between the girl and her dog. One officer, an older man with graying hair, stepped forward. He recognized Max immediately. "Wait a second," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "This is Max, isn't it? From the K9 unit." Emily nodded proudly. The officer shook his head in wonder. "I remember him. He used to be one of the best tracking dogs we had. Retired early, though. Never thought I'd see him back in action like this." The realization spread through the group of officers like wildfire. They began recounting stories of Max's past exploits, how he once tracked down a fugitive hiding in dense woods, or how he helped recover stolen goods during a high-profile case. Each story painted a picture of a dog who was not only skilled but also fearless and loyal. And now, years after his retirement, Max had proven that he still had what it took to be a hero. But there was something else that struck the officers deeply: the bond between Emily and Max. It wasn't just about training or instinct. It was trust. The way Emily communicated with Max and the way he responded to her every move showed a level of understanding that went beyond words. It was as if they shared a language all their own, one built on love and mutual respect. After taking down their statements, the officers assured Emily and her father, who had arrived shortly after hearing the news, that the two men would face justice. As it turned out, they were wanted criminals involved in a string of burglaries across several towns. Their capture was a major breakthrough for law enforcement, and much of the credit belonged to Max. Before leaving the park, one of the officers handed Emily a card. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call us," he said warmly. Then, turning to Max, he added, "And you, buddy, you've earned yourself a lifetime supply of treats." As the crowd dispersed and the police cars drove away, Emily looked up at her father, who wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You and Max make quite the team," he said with a proud smile. Emily hugged Max tightly, feeling grateful for everything he had done. But little did she know, this was only the beginning. News of Max's heroic actions spread quickly, capturing the hearts of people throughout the town and beyond. What started as a quiet afternoon in the park had turned into something far greater, setting the stage for an unforgettable journey that would change their lives forever. The story of Emily and Max's bravery quickly spread like wildfire. By the next morning, it was the talk of the town. Neighbors who had witnessed the dramatic scene at the park shared their accounts with friends and family. Local news outlets picked up the story, praising Max as a retired hero and Emily as the little girl with a big heart. People were captivated not just by the events themselves, but by the extraordinary bond between the child and her dog. A few days later, Emily and her father received an invitation to visit the police station. At first, Emily wasn't sure what to expect. She'd never been inside a police station before, and the idea of speaking to officers about what happened made her nervous. But her father reassured her, saying, "You and Max did something amazing. They just want to hear your side of the story." When they arrived, Emily clung to Max's leash, feeling both excited and shy. The officers greeted them warmly, treating Emily like a celebrity. One officer even brought out a bowl of water for Max, along with some treats. "For our star detective," he joked, winking at Emily. Max wagged his tail happily, clearly enjoying the attention. The officers led Emily and her father into a meeting room, where they asked her to recount everything that had happened in the park. Emily spoke softly at first, but as she described how she gave Max the secret signals and how he responded so perfectly, her confidence grew. She demonstrated their unique communication system, using hand gestures to show how each signal worked. The officers watched in awe as Max followed every command flawlessly, sitting, staying, and even pretending to chase an imaginary suspect across the room. One officer turned to Emily and said, "You know, most people don't realize how hard it is to train a dog like this, and yet you've done it all on your own. That's incredible." Emily blushed, looking down at Max. "He's really smart," she replied modestly. "I just taught him what we practiced together." As the meeting wrapped up, one of the senior officers cleared his throat and addressed Emily directly. "We think you and Max deserve recognition for what you've done," he said seriously. "Not only did you help catch two dangerous criminals, but you also reminded us all of the importance of teamwork and trust." He paused, glancing around the room before adding, which is why we'd like you to come to court when the case goes to trial. We think your testimony and Max's presence could make a real difference." Emily's eyes widened in surprise. "Me? In court?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The thought of standing in front of a judge and telling her story felt overwhelming. But her father squeezed her hand reassuringly, reminding her that she'd already faced far scarier situations with Max by her side. To ease her nerves, the officer suggested that Max could accompany her during the trial. "If it's okay with you," one of them added, "we'd love to see those secret signals in action again. It might even help the judge understand just how special your bond is." Emily agreed, though she still felt a flutter of anxiety in her chest. On the day of the trial, she dressed neatly in her best outfit, while Max wore his old K-9 unit badge pinned to his collar, a gift from the officers to honor his service. As they entered the courtroom, all eyes turned to them. The atmosphere was tense, filled with murmurs from spectators eager to see the famous dog and his young handler. When it was Emily's turn to speak, she stood nervously beside Max, gripping his leash tightly. The judge, a kind-looking woman with glasses perched on her nose, smiled encouragingly. "Take your time, sweetheart," she said gently. Taking a deep breath, Emily began to describe the events in the park, the stranger's approach, the danger she sensed, and how Max sprang into action when she signaled him. Her words painted a vivid picture of courage and loyalty. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. With permission from the judge, Emily gave Max a series of signals right there in the courtroom. Each gesture prompted an immediate response from Max, showcasing their flawless communication. When Emily waved her hand slightly, signaling "sit," Max obeyed instantly, his posture perfect. Another signal sent him trotting to her side, sitting patiently as if ready for his next command. The courtroom erupted in murmurs of admiration, and even the judge leaned forward, clearly impressed. "You two are quite the team," the judge remarked, her tone warm with approval. "It's not every day we see such a remarkable partnership." Emily beamed with pride, knowing that Max had once again proven himself to be a true hero. What happened next would leave an even deeper mark, not just on Emily and Max, but on everyone who heard their story. Their bond had touched hearts far beyond the courtroom walls, inspiring. The courtroom was silent as Emily and Max took their place in front of the judge. Every eye in the room was fixed on them, watching intently as Emily demonstrated their secret signals one last time. Max responded with the same precision and focus that had stunned the officers days earlier. When Emily gave him the signal to stay, he froze in position, his gaze steady and unwavering. It was as if he understood the gravity of the moment, that this wasn't just another game or training session, it was something far more important. The judge, visibly moved by the display, leaned back in her chair and adjusted her glasses. She glanced at the two men sitting across the room, hands cuffed, heads bowed, and then turned her attention back to Emily and Max. "I've seen many things in my years on the bench," she began, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "But I can honestly say I've never witnessed anything quite like this." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "This young girl and her dog remind us of something we often forget. Loyalty, trust, and courage aren't limited to humans. Sometimes they come wrapped in fur and wagging tails." A ripple of laughter spread through the courtroom, easing the tension slightly. Even Emily managed a small smile, though her hands were still clasped tightly around Max's leash. The judge went on to commend Max for his role in capturing the criminals, acknowledging that without his quick thinking and bravery, the outcome might have been very different. Then, turning to Emily, she added, "And you, young lady, you showed incredible poise and strength. Not every child your age would stay so calm in such a dangerous situation. You should be proud of yourself." Emily nodded shyly, her cheeks flushing red. She looked down at Max, who sat quietly beside her, his tail thumping softly against the floor. In that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for Max, but also for the support of everyone in the room. The officers, the judge, even the spectators, they all seemed to understand how special her bond with Max truly was. After delivering her verdict, guilty on all charges, the judge made an unexpected announcement. "In light of today's events," she said, addressing the courtroom, "I'd like to honor Max officially. Though retired, he has proven himself to be a true hero. Therefore, I am awarding him a certificate of valor, a token of our appreciation for his service and bravery." A round of applause erupted in the courtroom, echoing off the walls. Emily's father stepped forward to accept the certificate on Max's behalf, holding it high for everyone to see. Max, ever humble, simply wagged his tail and tilted his head curiously, as if wondering what all the fuss was about. But the surprises didn't end there. One of the officers stood up and announced that Max's story had inspired a new initiative within the police department. "We've decided to create a program to pair retired police dogs with families," he explained. "These dogs have given so much of themselves during their careers, and they deserve loving homes where they can enjoy their golden years. Thanks to Emily and Max, we now know just how much these animals can continue to contribute, even after retirement." The crowd cheered again, and Emily felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. She hadn't expected any of this. All she'd wanted was to keep Max safe and happy, and now, because of their bond, other dogs like him would find loving homes too. As they left the courthouse later that day, Emily hugged Max tightly, burying her face in his soft fur. "You did it, Max," she whispered. "You're everybody's hero now." Max licked her cheek affectionately, as if to say, "We did it together." Though the trial was over, Emily knew their journey was far from finished. Their story had touched the hearts of countless people, sparking conversations about the incredible connections humans could share with animals. For Emily, it was proof that even the smallest among us could make a big difference, with the right partner by our side. And for Max, it was a reminder that no matter how old he got, he would always be a hero in someone's eyes. The days following the trial were a whirlwind for Emily and Max. Their story had captured the hearts of not just their small town, but also people across the country. News outlets picked up the tale, sharing photos of Emily and Max along with heartwarming details about their bond. Social media buzzed with posts praising the brave little girl and her heroic dog. Strangers sent letters and gifts, everything from handmade toys for Max to heartfelt notes thanking Emily for inspiring them. One morning, as Emily opened yet another envelope containing a drawing of her and Max, her father walked into the room holding the local newspaper. On the front page was a picture of Emily kneeling beside Max, his old K9 badge gleaming on his collar. The headline read, "Retired Hero Dog Saves Girl, Inspires Community." Beneath the photo was an article detailing how their unique partnership had led to the capture of two dangerous criminals and sparked a movement to honor retired police dogs. Emily couldn't believe how much attention they were getting. At school, her classmates treated her like a celebrity, asking endless questions about Max and begging her to bring him to show and tell. Even her teacher dedicated a lesson to discussing kindness, teamwork, and the importance of helping animals in need. Emily felt proud, but also a little shy. She didn't think of herself as a hero. She was just grateful to have Max in her life. Meanwhile, the program inspired by Max's actions began taking shape. Officers visited schools, community centers, and events to talk about the initiative, using Emily and Max's story to highlight the value of adopting retired working dogs. Families who might never have considered bringing a retired police dog into their home suddenly saw the potential for love and companionship. Within weeks, several dogs found new homes, each one welcomed with open arms by families eager to give them the happy retirement they deserved. Emily became an unofficial spokesperson for the program. Though public speaking still made her nervous, she agreed to attend events and share her experience. At one gathering, she stood before a crowd of people holding Max's leash tightly. Her voice trembled at first, but as she spoke about their secret signals, their daily walks, and the day Max saved her in the park, Her confidence grew. "Max isn't just my dog," she said earnestly. "He's my best friend. He may be retired, but he's still got so much love to give. And I think all these dogs do." Her words resonated deeply with the audience. Parents nodded approvingly. Children gazed at Max in admiration, and even seasoned officers wiped away tears. Afterward, dozens of people lined up to meet Emily and Max personally. Some shared stories of their own pets, while others expressed interest in adopting a retired dog. By the end of the event, 5 more dogs had been matched with loving families. As the months passed, Emily noticed subtle changes in Max too. While he remained the same loyal, protective companion she'd always known, there was a new spark in his eyes, a sense of renewed purpose. Whether it was visiting schools with Emily or meeting newly adopted dogs at adoption events, Max seemed to thrive on the attention and affection. Watching him interact with other dogs and people filled Emily with joy. She knew Max had found exactly what he needed, a second chance to shine. But perhaps the most meaningful part of their journey came when Emily received a letter from a boy named Jake. In the note, Jake wrote that he had recently adopted a retired police dog named Rocky. "I saw your story on TV," he explained, "and it made me want to help a dog like Max. Rocky is teaching me cool tricks, and we're learning hand signals together too." Enclosed with the letter was a photo of Jake and Rocky sitting side by side, smiling brightly. Emily read the letter over and over, her heart swelling with happiness. For the first time, she realized the full impact of what she and Max had started. It wasn't just about catching bad guys or earning awards. It was about creating connections. Connections between humans and animals, between communities and causes, and between strangers united by a shared belief in kindness. Though Max eventually slowed down with age, his legacy lived on through the countless lives he touched, including Emily's. Together, they proved that sometimes the smallest acts of love and trust could lead to something extraordinary. And as long as they had each other, there was no challenge they couldn't face. As the years went by, Max grew older and grayer, his once powerful strides slowing to a gentle trot. But even in his twilight years, he remained a beloved figure in the community. Emily cherished every moment with him, knowing that their bond had become something far greater than either of them could have imagined. Together, they continued to inspire others, spreading awareness about the importance of giving retired working dogs loving homes. Max's legacy extended far beyond the park where he had first sprung into action. The program inspired by his bravery flourished, helping hundreds of retired police and service dogs find families who adored them. Adoption events became joyous occasions, filled with wagging tails, excited barks, and tearful reunions between humans and their new furry companions. Families often approached Emily at these events, eager to share how their adopted dogs had transformed their lives. "He protects us like Max protected you," one mother told Emily, gesturing to her young son playing with their newly adopted dog. "We'll never forget what your story meant to us." Though Max eventually passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by Emily and her family, his memory lived on in countless ways. Emily kept his old K9 badge displayed proudly in her room, a constant reminder of the adventures they'd shared and the lives they'd touched together. She also began volunteering at animal shelters, teaching kids how to train and care for rescue dogs using some of the same techniques she'd developed with Max. Her workshops became popular, drawing crowds of children eager to learn the art of secret signals and create their own special bonds with animals. To honor Max's life, the town decided to dedicate a small park bench engraved with his name and an image of him standing tall beside Emily. Beneath it, a plaque read, "In memory of Max, a hero who taught us all about courage, loyalty, and love." People often stopped by to sit on the bench, sharing stories of their own pets or simply reflecting on the impact one dog had made on an entire community. Emily grew up, but she never lost the lessons Max had taught her. As a teenager, she became an advocate for animal welfare, speaking at conferences and writing articles about the value of adopting retired working dogs. Her speeches always ended with the same heartfelt message. Dogs like Max aren't just heroes. They're teachers. They show us how to trust, how to protect, and how to love unconditionally. And when we open our hearts to them, they give us more than we could ever imagine in return. Years later, as an adult, Emily founded a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting retired working dogs. The initiative provided medical care, training resources, and adoption services to ensure that every dog received the happy retirement they deserved. She named it Max's Legacy, a tribute to the brave dog who had changed her life forever. Through her work, Emily kept Max's spirit alive, ensuring that future generations would continue to benefit from the unconditional love and loyalty that only a dog could offer. On quiet evenings, Emily would sometimes visit the park bench dedicated to Max, sitting there with a cup of tea and reminiscing about their adventures. She'd think about the day in the park when everything changed. The strangers, the chase, and the way Max had responded so perfectly to her signals. Those memories brought both tears and smiles, reminding her of how much Max had meant to her and how much he still meant to everyone whose life he had touched. Though Max was gone, his presence lingered, in the laughter of children playing fetch with their adopted dogs, in the wagging tails of grateful retirees finding new homes, and in the countless stories of human-animal bonds forged because of him. Emily knew that Max's true legacy wasn't just in the lives he saved or the programs he inspired. It was in the simple yet profound truth that love knows no bounds. Whether between a little girl and her dog or an entire community coming together to honor their heroes, it was a lesson that would endure for generations to come. And so, Emily carried Max's memory forward, not with sadness, but with gratitude. Because deep down, she knew that while dogs may leave this world too soon, the love they give stays with us forever.